All right, everyone. As requested, you guys have been asking for what silver miners are looking good. So I can tell you what looks good in the chart, but I thought, why not also get a fundamentals analysis specialist in as well? Say hello to Craig Dixon over there. Hey, Craig.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Good, buddy. Good. So he's going to unpack the fundamentals of each of the silver stocks, and then I'm going to pull up the charts and we can kind of combine our Captain Planet style, our powers combined, and see if we can find what ones are kind of looking the best from here. All right. So I'll let you start off, Craig, and then yeah, I'll jump on the charts and see if the charts align with it.
Awesome, mate. Well, we've got a bit of a list to get through. Um, so we're going to go through, I think, MKR, something called SS1. I've never heard of those guys, but apparently they're pretty interesting. So
Yeah,
we'll have a look at them.
they're new. They only IPO'd, I think, this year or end of last year,
They
January
did.
this year.
Apparently
Yeah.
everybody knows about them, and I'm the only one that doesn't know. But
Well, I think it's because I think it's because it's probably one of the few successful IPOs. That's why.
that's exactly
But
right. It's
yeah,
pretty rare an IPO works,
yeah.
and that one has more than worked.
Hmm.
Crazy. We'll go ARD, MTH, USL, MMA, IVR, SVL, ADT, and everyone's couple of ones of the month, BML and POL.
Beautiful.
All right. So the reason I want to start with MKR Manuka is because there's some stuff here that FA wise you would normally look at and go, this is really interesting, right?
Hmm.
So these guys actually have the Mount Boppy gold mine and they'll want to win to silver mine. So these are past producing mines. These have camps there. They have infrastructure there. They're a known deposit, which is something fundamentally like that's pretty good. You don't have to spend the money to build a mine. So you'd be pretty interested in the location right here. Polymetals, metals acquisition, Aurelia, Kingston, Aries. They're around the big guys, known deposits, producing, making money. Good spot. They have all the gear. But just for a bit of caution for everyone, just to be aware of these guys, and this is why I just wanted to show them really quickly, because these guys are promoting, they're going to produce gold and silver quite soon. Just be aware they have outstanding debt of $30 million. So this is a non-producing company with debt of $30 million, not just 5 million, which companies who aren't producing really shouldn't have any. These guys have nearly $30 million in debt. So when they come to finance this project, this little gold mine in the beginning, and then the silver mine, they're going to have to use that CapEx, which will be 20 million or so, plus refinance this loan, which is actually going to be due in January of next year. So if they don't get finance or recapitalization in the next 3 months, this company's gone as well. So it's got some markers we'd be interested in, but just be really aware they've got that debt sitting there. So I just thought I'd bring that one up. I don't know what the chart looks like on that one, but someone sent
Well,
me that one the other day, and I'd been watching this too, and I'd been pretty worried about it. So
I'll give it a quick look.
yeah,
So looking at the monthly, it's in a clear downtrend.
yeah,
However, you have got bullish divergence off that last low, so there is a bullish signal there, but really, um, yeah, it's probably one of the weaker looking charts out of them so far. It's too early to tell. As you can see here, it's still in a downtrend. Like we don't know if this is just coming up to the zag zone here, going to reject.
yeah,
There was a lot of sell pressure on that move there as well. So yeah, it could have bottomed because of the monthly, but we kind of want it to come up, do something like that. And if you had that happen and you change market structure through that kind of 7 cent, then I'd probably get excited. But it hasn't actually changed market structure. So yeah.
yeah. Oh, the fundamentals and that's pretty scary. If they don't pull off financing, then that's kind of it.
Mm.
Yeah. All right, let's go next one. All right. One of the rare successful IPOs, Sun Silver. Everyone knows what this one is. Everyone's super obsessed with this one. It's an explorer. So the constant discussion I hear about this thing, these guys are going to be mining. They're going to be, throwing out all this cash. No, they're not. They're an explorer. These guys actually, while it's a big deposit, and this is what makes Sun Silver so exciting for everyone. It's huge. The contained silver is absolutely massive. The grade, as you can see on the screen, the grade's not great. If we are looking for a silver deposit, I want to see grades in the hundreds. I don't want to see grades 30 or 40. That's more what you're getting when you've got a bimetallic and polymetallic deposit. So it's not great grades, but the contained silver is a ridiculous amount. So that's what makes Sun Silver, so exciting for everybody. And you can see 2 million ounces of gold at an absolute rubbish grade, but in a bimetallic, polymetallic deposit, that's perfectly fine. So that's what makes these guys useful. The thing to watch out about Sun Silver, and a few of the guys have picked this up as we started talking about assay results and how they actually work, is that Sun Silver will put out assay results to the market that aren't real assay results. They're a handheld scanner that you can use in the field. So they're a great tool in the field for geologists to make sure they're drilling in the right spot, to plan extra drill holes, all that kind of stuff. They are not a real assay result. They are not representative of what will actually happen when you get this into the lab. So you're allowed to release them, but just be really aware that they are not an actual representation of what is in the deposit, and what comes back in an assay result may be rather different. So just be really well aware of that one. Mate, what they're doing right now is they are just drilling. They are drilling like crazy to infill this resource, to prove it up, and to actually try and extend it. And they've got hits outside of the mineral resource. So outside of this section here, where they can count it, they've actually been hitting mineralization outside of that. So I think it's pretty fair to say that this thing is going to grow and get bigger. That's what they are. So the challenge is with these guys, though, we have no timelines on the upgrade to an MRE, which would be your major catalyst. So if you can find out when that's coming, if everyone keeps an eye on this and finds out when the MRE upgrade is due, that'll be a really interesting potential catalyst to come out. So we don't have a lot of info what they're doing next. We don't know when they're moving to studies, but in terms of a potential catalyst, that MRE upgrade could be a good one.
Okay. Yeah, it's a bit hard to do anything on a chart. I know a lot of people won't even try TA on something with less than a year's data. Like I talked
Yeah.
about IPO, but you can see here, this was the point here. The break
Yeah.
and retest there was perfect. You can see it had bullish divergence. That new low came down on lower in volume, so that was it. Right now, you're getting bearish divergence off that last top, but
Yeah.
that doesn't. That's just one little signal. It's still got volume supporting it. I think that'll just probably get a bit of a pullback and keep going. That will turn into hidden bullish and likely keep going. So the chart still looks very good. At the end of the day, they're selling higher, they're buying higher.
Yeah.
It's in an uptrend. So the only thing I would say is a little bit of bearish divergence in the momentum, but that's common. The chart it overheats, comes back, resets, and then goes again. So yeah, there's nothing telling me anything bad, but it is very hard to chart something that's only been there for 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. There's so much pump and excitement. These guys are great at pumping their own stock. They're really, really good at pumping it up. Whether it's valid or not, it's always a different story, but
Yeah.
they're so good at it. Yeah, the following on these guys too, by retail is huge. So you've got lots of support sitting around it. Hey. All right. Next one. So this is ARD. So these guys have a market cap of 41 million. Actually, just quickly, the market cap on Sun Silver now has gotten up to 150.
Oh wow.
Which I'll go through them with the other ones. I'll name their market caps as well, and just so you can get a bit of an idea of a comparison of the potential valuation of some of these. Because when we're sitting explorers like Sun Silver, like ARD, and a lot of the other ones we're going to talk about, it's speculative value. There's no actual metrics attached. You don't actually know. And so that's why Sun Silver's a play on size. That's what that's on. So that's 151. You go to ARD, market cap 41. These guys are really polymetallic. So you got silver, gold, you've got lead, you've got zinc as well. So these guys, they are kind of mid-exploration. They have got an idea of their resource, which is pretty good. Silver grades aren't massive, but these guys are a really polymetallic deposit. So that's fine. They've got gold, silver, lead, everything's kind of in there that raises this thing up and will make it economic at some stage. So what they have to do, they have to grow this. And one thing I just want to highlight that these guys do really, really well, that other explorers, Sun Silver is an example that they don't do this. These guys do it. So when you have an equivalent MRE, you have to calculate the equivalent ounces, say silver, by this really complex calculation. And I won't go into it now, it's in the FA training, but these guys actually show you the grading and the equivalents for every single type of ore within this deposit. And then down here, they give you real detail on their actual calculation. So that's the company being super transparent on what they're doing, which is something we don't see all the time. And also already they've got these really decent deposit models as well. So this company is doing a lot of work and trying to communicate to investors a lot of information compared to somebody like Sun Silver who really doesn't do anything like this as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what we look for when we want to see a company who's got a bit of integrity, good communication with shareholders, and we start building a bit of a picture in the fundamentals of how these guys might actually do, whether they pump like crazy or what. These guys are really good at communicating their information. So that's pretty nice. And then they've started to get some drill holes now that are actually starting to show the extent of this actual mineralization. And there's significant potential for this to increase. They're starting to go outside of that envelope and they're still finding mineralization. So there's going to be upside to this resource. And the question is finding the catalysts of when that's going to happen. So look
Mm-hmm.
out for MRE upgrades and assay results for these guys.
Okay. So it said there they had the second largest undeveloped in Australia. Who's got the largest?
Who is it? I can't remember who it is.
Okay. So SS1,
It could
you
be it
said
could be
that
Paris.
you said that theirs was huge. So AIDs is bigger than SS1.
No, so SS1's not in Australia.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep, yep,
yeah.
yep. All right, easy. Okay. All right, nice. Okay, so there's it's a bit early to tell, but if they yeah, there is potential for some more
Yeah,
upside because they're quite transparent and they haven't actually even drilled down. So let
yeah. And
ha,
a lot of
ha,
these companies are explorers, and so a lot of
yeah,
this is it's potential, it's hopes and dreams,
yeah.
and you're looking for companies that have as much information out there as you can get. So deposit
Mm.
map models, drill hole models, really clear MRE statements and types of ore that they've got in there. That's what you're looking for, and that's what these guys do better than some of the others.
So how far away would they be from actually producing?
As far as I'm aware, they don't even have the basic study out yet.
Yeah.
So
So
they probably haven't even hit a critical mass to get a
the
scoping study out. So they won't be anywhere near PFS.
the
Unless
minimum like 5 years, 10 years.
yeah, easy five. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
easy
the
five.
same with
Yeah.
like something like Sun Silver, right?
Mm.
That's 5, 8 years away
Yeah.
from anything.
Yeah. Okay. All right, awesome. All right, well, I'll check out the chart on this one.
Yep.
This is the chart's one of my favorites
Yeah.
on the TA. And I'll show you why. You can see here that it was in a massive downtrend here, and then it found a base around this kind of what's that 1 cent range,
Yep.
base around here, and you can see on that last move down the double bottom, it came
Mm.
down in really low volume there. So you got your bullish divergence there and there. So and you can see a lot of buying pressures coming in now off this here as well. So I really like that's the big time frame is monthly. You can
Yep.
also see that the monthly has changed market structure. So we were in a downtrend since 21. So it's the first time it's changed market structure on the monthly. Go
Hmm.
to the weekly, same thing. You can see you've had all that. You can see beautiful buying pressure. You can see this whole move here came down on lowering sideways volume.
Yep.
Volume starting to come in here. Again, weekly has changed market structure now. So there you go. You've had a beautiful change of market structure there now as well. So that's beautiful. Right now, it's just running into this resistance,
Yeah.
old support. So that's what happened. Like that's trapped money that is now going, okay, we'll take profit there. So it's
Yeah.
just short term. Like this thing's gone from 18 cents. It doubled in a week,
Yeah.
a lot of short term traders jump onto it. They're like, boom, 100%, make my money and out,
Yeah.
never to be seen. So, and that's where they look to take profit. So, it is a little bit extended on the weekly, and as you can
Mm.
see. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we do kind of chill around here for a bit and kind of pull back and then see if it starts to go through. But everything about it looks fantastic chart wise. The only thing I would say is a little bit extended into a thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does kind of chill around here, or if it breaks through. I
Yep.
don't think it'd be long until it comes back and then tests it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I like that. That's like, decreasing the share price, but that OBV is just sitting there nicely.
Yeah, like look at that beautiful ink, and then
Yeah,
just sideways lowering bone, then that boom, bones
yeah,
come back in. So someone likes this, someone's buying it. It's yeah, and now you've got bullish market structure, and that's what I look
yeah,
for. So as long as it's above that 1.3 cents, I've got absolutely no problem with it. Looks
yeah.
great.
And that's kind of, yeah, you've really highlighted the kind of stuff I look for if I'm combining the FA and TA, is that slightly, decreasing share price, but the OBV is sitting flat or it's starting to increase.
Yeah,
It tells me the FA is coming into play with the chart, and then
yep.
we start to get interested.
Yeah, and that's a falling wedge there, which is the ending diagonal, which is typically
Yeah,
the end of a move as well. So yeah, it's looking quite nice, but extended it probably could pull back a little bit.
yeah. All right. That's a nice one.
Yeah.
Next one. We'll go friends MCH. These guys market cap of about 58 mil on last check. These guys have got a lot of headlines lately because of their assay results. And, I know this company pretty well. I was, looking at this company back 2, 3 years ago. And the interesting part is a lot's changed, but also not much has changed for these guys. It's really still quite similar. Um, Doing the same kind of thing. They have done a lot better job over the last year or so of, I guess, targeting better areas, getting better results, and being able to excite the market. But in terms of actually progressing things a long way in the last few years, they haven't gone too far too fast. So it'd be interesting to see what they actually do now that silver is, super exciting for everybody, because these guys are gold and silver as well. And you can see they've got the equivalent calculations as well, just like everyone else is using for us at the moment. So they're in an area, top 20 is 55% of these guys too, which is a really nice number to
Hmm.
have for a top 20 shareholding. And look, the area where these guys are in, it's a huge area for silver. This is what attracted me to these guys first a few years ago, was this location. Just the location for silver mining, it's massive. And you've also got huge companies in this district. If you can build up a big deposit, you're not going to have to bring that thing to mine. Someone's going to take it off you. You build
Hmm.
up the deposit, you build scale, you maybe do the first study so that you can prove that a mine plan can work, and then you just let someone take it off your hand. So what you're playing with these guys is you are playing the eventual growth of a big deposit and the eventual potential takeover, essentially. But we're not talking tomorrow, we're talking years down the track. So
All right.
with these guys, your catalyst that I want everyone to be aware of, is that you have got an MRE update coming, I reckon the end of Q1 2025.
Hmm.
And the amount of drilling these guys have been doing in the last 2 years is not included in the mineral resource they have at the moment. That mineral resource hasn't been updated for 2 years. So these guys are going to have a hell of a lot more data to put in, and they've got decent grades and just so much more information. So that's coming, I would say, probably in March next year. So absolutely keep an eye out for that one coming. So, but this is also just to be aware too, if people are going to have a long-term thought on this one, this is narrow vein mining, which is very different to something like polymetals, whatever, which we'll go to a bit later on. So you have got narrow veins. So you're talking the high grade veins are a few meters wide, and you've got this like low grade halo around. If you guys look at the assay announcements for these guys over the last few months, you will see that. You will see these really narrow sections that have high grades and then low grades around them, and then nothing in between all the veins. So that will be, it's not a complication. It's well known how to deal with, but it just means there's a little bit of extra drilling you got to do and extra money you got to spend to locate these veins. But other than that, they've moved slowly, but I think that they've found enough that they're going to upgrade this MRE to start making this a significant deposit that in years to come will get bought out.
Hmm. All right,
All
nice.
right,
All right,
all yours.
let me have a look. I know I've definitely chatted this one before because I know a couple of students made me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, everyone's been talking about this one.
yeah, here we go. That's right. Yeah, so as you can see here, That was its major. So buyers stepped in, buyers stepped in, buyers stepped in. Then it came below. I don't know what happened there, but then it shot up, right up, and then you can see those buyers are stepping back in again. So as long as it's the buyers stay here at this 42, then I'm okay with it, because then I just go, yep, they've been there since 2018 and they're still there now. But if we started to fall back through there, that's where then I'd be like, well, hang on, where have they gone?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's fine. It's popped up. Geez, that's a good move, isn't it? 8 cents
Yeah.
up to 10x. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh man, should have been on that one. So yeah, that one has bounced back here. And yeah, if it does rally off here and get through, then yeah, you beauty. She's volumes come in, bullish divergence off that last low there as well. So yeah, potential. I just
Yeah.
don't want to see it fall below 42.
Yeah. All right, cool. I think the other thing just to be a little bit aware of with those guys is their past calculations of their equivalent resource has been really poor
Hmm.
as well. So when they do put the MRE up to, obviously that's the next big potential catalyst. But for me, the thing I'll look at is how they actually calculate their equivalent
Hmm.
resource,
Hmm.
because their last one was not great. So I don't know how they got away with it, but they did somehow, as they do. Is actually I'll say that question for you right at the end. I'm gonna write it down so I remember. All right. Next one. Next one. Next one is USL market cap 115 million. Oh, there's some screen. Beautiful. So these guys are kind of similar in terms you're playing a district, you're playing an area, and you're playing control of a large space within a well-known, well-producing area. You got majors in there, Newmont, Pan American Silver, Anglo Gold, Shanty. The big kids are there. This is a really prolific area. And these guys have just essentially amalgamated a couple of areas right near each other. You can see here, these two places, Jacqueline
Hmm.
and Sierra Leone. So huge pickup for them to get that ground. Really interesting with these guys. Top 20, 55%, which is a very nice holding. But just so you're aware, Eric Sprott is in this one. So that's a very important name. Guys, go look him up, guys. And you can follow him around, follow his investments. Really interesting name. And a gentleman named Eduardo. Now, this guy is Argentina's largest real estate developer. So big
Mm.
money, knows what he's looking at, will have inside lines to people pretty much everywhere. And this is where he's decided to park a bunch of his cash in this company as well. So
Interesting.
yeah, there's some really big money, but it's not just big money, but prominent names who are
Hmm.
publicly in there. They're not hiding behind nominees or whatever. They are publicly involved.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so that's always something we take note of. And also in this area, if these guys can prove up the deposits, same thing as we talked about the last one, the deposits are going to get bought out by the big kids. So it's the same kind of thing. Drill, prove it up, do your first mine study, and then see what happens. So that's what I reckon they'll do. And they picked up that Jacqueline district for like 2 million up front, which is nothing compared to what's there. And one of the big differences with what's there, what's known in that district, is it's 93% silver,
Wow.
which you just don't see.
Mm.
Um, pretty much every deposit we talk about, mate, is a bimetallic or polymetallic deposit, and this one is, almost purely just the silver.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so that's, when people talk about silver plays or what's going to be an actual silver mine potentially one day, or what's the deposit. This one, when they do more drilling, has the potential to be a really pure, kind of silver play. But once again, we're going years down the track. We're not
Hmm.
talking tomorrow or next year. So,
Hmm.
what else can I say about these guys? So we talked about these guys being, say, mid-exploration. So they're still drilling for exploration, but discoveries are done. So the discoveries in this district, kind of Sierra Leone, you're kind of known a little bit what's there, but still need to drill it out and get a lot more information. So that's what they're doing right now. They are drilling out that deposit at the moment. That's where their money's going. That's where the time is. What's going to happen over the next 6 months is they've got to get approvals to drill their new area. once they do that, they will drill this thing out and they will come up with the MRE. And so that's going to be your next big catalyst for these guys, really, is when they can get an MRE out for that new district. And that's probably going to be, I'd say, mid next year. So absolutely look out for that one, because that could be, it could be a really, the early stages of a deposit, really being discovered. That's going to be a potential big silver deposit. We don't know enough yet at all, but there's significant potential on that S. They've just raised as well. They've got probably 12 million in cash, so they shouldn't have to go back to the market just yet either.
All right. Well, again, this is one of my my favorite
Yeah, let's see how it looks
charts
like.
as well.
Yeah.
This is well, it's one that I put in on my weekly trades a while back. So I talked about it here. And yeah, it's done well since then. 16, yeah, more than doubled.
Yeah.
So again, similar kind of thing. It's from there, it was in a clear downtrend, downtrend, downtrend. You can see here we moved into an uptrend. So it's now in an uptrend, which is great. You can see beautiful volume again.
Yeah.
Bullish divergence off the lows. So same kind of thing as all of them, a little bit extended. Would not be surprised to see maybe a little bit of a pullback. But that's it's a maybe.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't sell because you think it's coming, but just you've got to understand that markets, they zig, they zag, they zig, they zag. And I've got a saying where I'm like, if you can't handle the zag, you don't deserve the zig. And that's it. People panic sell on these things. I'm like, yeah, we know markets move that way. Look, zigzag, 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 like it's common. And to try and time every zig and zag is so much effort that it's just like, as long as the sellers are selling higher and the buyers are buying higher, I'm in. So as long as they buy anywhere above 17 cents, I've got nothing to worry about. They can come in here and it's just doing normal uptrend. Volume's fantastic. It'll just reset the RSI a bit, things like that. So no, it's looking fantastic. Yep.
Look, one of the differences I like with that move compared to some of the others is, the acquisition of the district they just picked up. That increased their value and their potential. It's so, there's a little bit more to that than just everyone gets excited about silver.
Yeah.
Which is always a lot nicer to see, and it just adds that bit more potential to that move to bust a resistance and to go.
Yeah, well, you can see what happened here. Is that when they discovered it?
Oh, I don't know. That's ages ago.
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah,
That's
2020.
potentially when the first one was had a look at. There's a timeline on here. I'm just going to have a quick look at. When was that?
It was the 20th of October, 2020. I know silver was really hot during that period, so it literally may have just been that silver broke out and went into its wave 5, and this is gapped up. It may have just been that.
It might have been, because I think that's the first time I heard about him way back then.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about him back in late 2020, and so that might have been it. When silver was crazy. Back in the day.
Yeah. All right. What's next on the list?
All right. Let's go. Let's go underground. Someone else. Where are we? MMA. These are the guys I always get mixed up. There's an offshore company with that name, but a slightly different ticker. And so the offshore gas company mixed up with these guys. All right. So these guys, I think we talked about these guys, I reckon nearly a year ago. And they've got a pretty interesting deposit in terms of size and grade, as they say there. And when I came back to look at them again, there hasn't been too much progress, which was a little bit strange and disappointing, considering where they were at that kind of 8 months, 9 months, a year ago, whenever we talked about them. So market cap sitting at 50 million now. We have got, these guys are really in the late exploration stage, early development stage. They're getting to the point where they've got a deposit that's big enough and they've got enough information they can start trying to work out what metrics might they be able to get out of this thing. What could the finances be? How can we mine it? All that kind of stuff. So they're ahead of some of the ones we've talked about. And you can see here, when you get a top 20 of that much, obviously the red metal shareholding, gooses that a bit, but still they've got it. So there's not too many free shares sitting out there outside the top 20. So if people want to push that price high to get in, they're going to have to chase prices. There's not much float out there. which is always nice to see.
Hmm.
All right. So these guys are working on their metallurgical test work, which is good because as you can see from, where is it, this one here, this deposit is going to have a bunch of different options. So this is a really true polymetallic deposit, and it's even got bimetallic areas. So you can see with this map, copper gold zone here, you've got your silver lead in the green, and you've got a gold only in the yellow. So even when you get to different zones, you've still got multiple metals within each zone. So there's benefits to that, is that you really have a clear idea of what you're digging up. The challenge is you've got to have sequences and mine plans that are going to access that and then obviously extract it properly as you go through the different types of ore in the different sections. So there's some challenges. There's also a couple of benefits with that, I think, for these guys that they can do. We've got, compared to other silver projects we've looked at, you've got a much better grade of silver. We're thinking silver, 155 grams per ton silver. That's more of what we want to see. That's when we start talking about this as more of a proper silver contained deposit rather than the ones that are sitting at 30 or 40, 50, 60, which is far more it's not quite a byproduct, but it's really embedded in a polymetallic where this has much more access to quality silver. So that's their starter zone. I like this idea of having a high value, high grade starter zone. It's a great way to get early cash flow, limit your upfront capital, because you're not just developing everything all at once, and you can use that capital and recycle some of it back into expanding. So maybe you can take on a lower debt load, and it can make ramp up just a little bit less risky, which is always good. Mate, what else can I tell you? So there's no studies out yet, which is what we want to see next. Also, they've got a data gather for their permits. They have to drill to increase their resource confidence, and they have to prove up that starter zone a lot better. So they've got about 10 million in cash. So they've got some cash to do it. So they're not coming back to the market tomorrow to raise. The challenge is going to be for this, guys, is what's going to excite the market, what's going to push this thing for major catalysts, because there's nothing really coming that's major that I can see. And that's why I go back to in the last kind of 6 to 8 months has been a little bit disappointing in their progress, because we're not too far into anything yet. So look, when they do get into their studies, like scoping study and stuff like that, that's going to be a potential catalyst, but I don't even know when that's going to be yet. So that's my issue with these guys at the moment, is I just don't know what's coming or when, and I can't time my catalysts either. But other things about its quality development, quality shareholding, a really decent looking deposit. And we've got a hell of a lot more information to know kind of what's in the ground and what's going to be there. It's just now a matter of we need to see some metrics on this one. So there's a lot less speculation in this one compared to the other ones. We're just in like this little black zone at the moment. We don't have a catalyst coming.
These are in Australia too, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, because someone said that well, when I posted that ARD's got the second largest, someone wrote that these guys are actually got the second largest. So is theirs bigger than ARD, or is it?
Oh, look, we can go and check, but the challenge is that
They haven't
depends
discovered it
who.
all either.
That's exactly right. Depends
Yeah.
who list we're looking at. Depends when the MRE is updated, because you can have an MRE from 3 years ago. It's just not updated, but we know that the next one in 3 months is going to be way bigger. So technically
Yeah.
not, but it's going to be. It's and every company is going to come up with a way to phrase something or to show a peer comparison table that
Yep.
benefits their company.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
And so unless you're going to spend your own time to go and access every single latest updated MRE, which you can do, and some companies will do an accurate comparison table. Not every company will massage the results. But you take it with a grain of salt. You go, okay, yeah, you could be up in that area. They're not going to fully bullshit everybody, but yeah, you take it with a bit of a grain of salt as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well the chart, it's again, there's not much data on this one, but I do like what I see on the data
Yeah,
I've got. So exact same thing. You can see you had this first move up, and then you can see this last move has come down and lower in volume, and you can see the
yeah.
volume's really coming on this push up here. It's this one's not overbought, so it's still got upside there on the weekly. The daily, same thing. It's had nice volume come in. I just think probably going to get maybe a little bit of a pause here, and then
Mm.
it should keep going. But really, what we're waiting for is it to get above that level there. If we can get above here, you get through that. What is that? around that 34 cent,
Yep.
and then you're sweet. That's
Got some blue skies there.
yeah, that's it. There's no trapped money. There's nothing there. It's blue. It's just blue skies. And I
Yep.
think that's why something like SS1 has run so hot as well, because there's
Yes.
anyone that holds SS1 is happy. There's no
Yep.
one unhappy holding that stock because everyone's got green. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they call that blue skies because yeah, it's everyone's a happy camper.
Yep.
So yeah, once we get above there, you haven't got long to get by that. Then same kind of deal. So that potentially not as good as things like ARD and that, because this one hasn't officially changed market structure yet,
Yep.
but it's showing me that it should, but I'd need more data to know that. So potentially, yes, could be good. Whereas
Mhm.
ARD and USL have already changed market structure and shown me that they're bullish. Whereas this is just showing me that it should turn bullish, but it hasn't yet.
Yep.
So yeah.
I think that's might have been when we talked about first, kind of what that Mayish point maybe we went for that first run up into that resistance,
Mm,
and then started coming back on that lowering volume. I think that's why we would have talked about it from memory.
yeah. Yep.
What about that gap down there? Because everyone's going to ask
Yeah.
about that, Phil.
Yeah, no, that's a breakaway gap. So yeah, they're the ones that don't always fill. Like if you pull up an Apple chart, it has a million gaps
Yeah.
back in the ones down at like 20 cents, 40 cents.
Mm,
And there's no way they're ever getting filled.
that's right.
Um, so yeah, no, but I don't mind. It's the gaps that always get filled out. Your common gaps typically get filled within a few days because they're just the ones that happen just because of volatility. Your
Mhm.
exhaustion gaps, I really worry about them when they come in.
Yep.
Which this one doesn't have any. Um, oh, actually, this one here. So something like that where it gaps up and then it just gets exhausted on a shooting star.
Yep.
Typically, it happens on bearish divergence, lower in volume, that kind of thing. But yeah, the ones that tend to not get filled are your breakaway gaps. So that's a gap that I never bet on it getting filled. It can get filled, but
Mm,
breakaway is typically the beginning of a move. So even when they do get filled, it's normally after a significant move, and then once it goes back into the bear market, which can
yep.
be years and years, you know.
Yeah,
So
and my expectation is that gap will get filled, like not
yeah,
now.
yeah.
But if we think about guys like these, the other exploration plays we've talked about, they're in such that in that exploration stage, mid, late exploration, they
Mm,
become the table without legs. It just goes up. And at
mm,
some point, she's going to come back down because the type of money that's going to be in that stock will change.
hmm
And then we start hitting, that part where we go to development and everything gets really slow as well.
yeah.
Excitement goes away, discovery goes away. So once something like the silver pump and everything goes away, and discovery excitement goes away, you're
hmm
going to see that degradation of the share price.
Yeah, easy. Like I'll just show you a CXO here. See, like massive gap up there.
Yep.
That one got filled there, but another gap here, another gap here. None of them have been filled yet. And
Yep.
so if you're waiting for the gap to fill at 2 cents, you would have missed out at a 100x move
Yeah, that's right.
before. So yeah, and this one here, yeah, that one's been filled now, but again, at 15 cents, it did another 10x before it got filled, So that's what's on my
Definitely.
breakaway gaps. Yes, they can get filled once the kind of major move is done, then it comes back down. But they don't necessarily get filled straight away.
Yeah. I think that's really important too, about knowing the difference between the gaps and seeing
Yeah.
the TA around it and the FA as well, of why these two things pushing it. And then you
Mhm.
can really understand the gap rather than just playing for a gap every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Let's go. Let's go IVR. All right. So IVR, we've got a market cap of what, 80 mil. So this is silver and this is lead. So what's really interesting about this one is these guys have moved right through the development stage. So these guys have done the exploration, they've got the deposit. Yeah, blah, 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 all about silver. We get it. But they've gone to the studies and all they've done their studies on is the silver. So this is silver and this is lead as well, but they've never ever studied the actual economic potential of the lead within this deposit. So I'm not sure why they went about it that way, but their DFS that is due quite soon is actually going to have the lead in there. So that's going to change the look of this deposit drastically, and it's going to change the financial metrics drastically of this. So this pre-feasibility study, alone on the numbers, it's pretty interesting. It's a short mine life at 7 years. And just keep in mind this pre-feas was in 2021. So we're not talking too recent. Your IRR will be pre-tax at 47, which is always nice. Free cash flow, that's good. So, short mine life, CapEx 131 mil. And this is purely on silver. So lead's got absolutely nothing in this. So okay numbers there. But what everyone needs to look out for is in this quarter, so the next month or so, the next DFS will be out. And that's a potentially significant catalyst because lead economics come into this thing. So that's really worth waiting for to see what actually happens. It's hard to try and value this thing properly now, mate, because when the lead comes in, we just don't know what it's going to look like at all. So that makes valuation pretty difficult. So I think you kind of got to wait. We also got to be aware that these guys are going through approvals for their mining license, their native title, all the environments. They're not fully granted yet as well. So it adds a little bit of risk to their development. It's something they'll work through, but it's not something that has to rush, right? This thing is not going into production, construction, anything like that. You got another couple of years before it gets financing and offtakes done and then goes through something. So those approvals will come through over the next year or two. No ore reserve yet. They need to get an ore reserve to finish all this off and get the right information out. And top 20 only hold about 30%, which was a little bit surprising. But we're starting to get into a deposit here that actually has financial metrics compared to a lot of the ones we've talked about. So this is where you can start getting an idea of value. But it's just this one's going to change significantly. So I think keep an eye out for that. And that's something to, if you're going to play a catalyst, that could be a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if the chart's pre-running any news from the DFS, but I wouldn't think the DFS outcomes are known just yet either to even get insiders too excited.
Yeah, so this one, again, it's not as good as ARD and USO because it hasn't officially changed market structure yet.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think it will, just because I can see 5 waves up here perfectly. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can see beautiful bearish divergence from the 3rd to the 5th. And now we've just had a nice ABC back. So you can't end on an impulse. It should be, unless it was a 335. But yeah, and here you had nice bullish divergence off that low there. And again, it's not as extended as the other ones, but it's kind of funny that why are these ones lagging the other ones? Like why hasn't this one come up here? Like why is it not here like the other ones are? Like I always look for relative strength, and I think, well, why is ARD and USL showing so much strength compared to something like IVR and MMC? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So not to say it won't. Some data might come out where the FA results change that, and it might. But right now, it is showing weaker trend compared to the other ones. I just want to get above here, because at the moment, from that top, selling lower, selling lower, selling lower, selling lower. And how do I know we're not going to sell lower again here now? You know what I mean? So I want to make sure I want to get that up above there. So then I know we're selling higher, come back, buying higher. And then once we go with change of market structure. But some good signs. Bullish divergence, off support. I can see an impulse wave, corrective wave. I just want to see this accumulation here break out. So yeah, potential, but not as strong as something like ARD or USL right now.
I think that's the difference. The difference between this company and ARD, your Sun Silver, your Mithril, is the stage. The stage is massive difference. So these guys are in the late part of development stage. They aren't pumping the price. They aren't pumping out the news of, well, here's this giant discovery. Here's this amazing assay. Look, we found a bloody rock chip. There's none of that. And so that changes the type of money and the type of traders that are going to be involved as well. And there's less risk in something like this because you know that silver is there. We've got the study that proves it's there and you can mine it. And we know that this lead is coming on top of it, which in theory will give an even more economic mine as well. So there's significantly less risk in that department. Something like your Mithril and whatever, an ARD, they're proving something up. They're finding some things, but they still don't even know exactly what they've got. They still don't even know exactly how the mine would work, what potential numbers it'll throw off. So your risk there is very different risk profile. The share price will always move differently. There's different speculative money in that compared to something like this. And so
Mhm.
that's why you can see some crazy explorers that have got almost nothing run into market caps. Like the uranium pump was like that, wasn't it? Market
Yeah.
caps at 200-300 mil, and these guys didn't even have a friggin' resource.
No.
So then you've got someone like AE sitting there who's about to go to FID, and their market cap will be half of that of a crazy explorer that's got 3 drill holes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the difference of what's happening in this silver pump at the moment as well. Is some of those companies, the really speculative guys, played it incredibly well.
Mm-hmm.
They played it. They released their results, timing or not, but it landed at the right time for them.
They also normally play the market and might capital raise during the strong market too. Is
Yeah.
there anyone we have to be weary of for a capital raise at all?
Or some of those explorers, the ones I mentioned that did have more cash, I mentioned
Mm.
them because they had more cash.
Yeah.
Most of the other guys you can look at is going to have a couple mil at the most.
Okay.
And so what you are going to often find if they're planning something else that's coming up, like with who was it? I think it was USL that had the district. They just got the new district in there. Yeah, they're going to have about 12 million in cash by the time they get to drill that new area. That 12 mil might have gone down, but they should still have enough to drill it. Where a lot of these other guys, when they go for their next drill program, they're going to have to raise. So with a lot of these smaller explorers, just expect there's going to be a raise in the next kind of 3 to 6 months, but I would expect much sooner because right now, big institutions and whatever are going to be excited to throw money at them to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beauty.
And so
What's
even
next?
if they don't need money at this time, a lot of companies will get approached, um, you know, to take a raise, and they're not going to say no to free money.
Mm. Yeah, definitely not.
All righty. So this is SVL.
This is like the dog of the market, really. Everyone thought it was
No,
the knight in shining armor because it's got silver in its name,
yeah,
and then
that's
it's
exactly right.
yeah, it's been the
Everyone's like,
dog.
ooh, it's still silver. Yeah. Look, personally, the FA of this thing's never got me overly excited just because of some of the time that it's taken and the way they've gone about some of the things. And this, this is exactly why when people spoke to me about this over the last however long, so just be really wary because they've got to get over this hurdle. And then we saw exactly what happened. They got stuck in the courts, and the planning commission, didn't give development because they got rescinded. And
Mm,
so they're lucky that they found out that it hasn't been totally cancelled, and they now have the opportunity to liaise, I guess, with the bodies to find out, okay, so the issue is with the transmission line and how it's going to run into the project and what that's going to do and impact on the environment and everything around it. So now they have the opportunity to try and find out the full issues and what we can do to get this amended. So how can we do all these different things? What can we tick off to make this okay? So they've got
mm,
that opportunity to do that now. So while that's good news that they can do that, how long do we think that's actually going to take? Any form of legal process or whatever to do something like that to satisfy any concerns and then get it amended through the courts. This is not something that's going to change in 2 months. So that's a huge thing for these guys. They're stuck. And you can see it in this presentation. And this is something I speak with people about when we look at company presentations. You often know where a company is at in their process and how much they've got going on by where they start in their presentation. And these guys, in a very recent presentation, they started with this ESG at the front. As much as I love ESG, people don't know I love ESG. Silver page, why silver? Silver medal of innovation, stats on silver. Oh, look what it's used for. Oh, look, more stuff what it's used for before we even get to their project. So that's just an indication that these guys know that they are stuck. And they're trying to generate some hype by saying, look at silver, it's going to be amazing, and we have silver in our name and everything's great. So you know that they're in trouble, and a company's usually stuck when they do that. So all the stuff you can say about them is fine, but this is going absolutely nowhere for a while. These guys, in the meantime, are spending their money essentially trying to do a little bit of exploration to keep people interested, and to try and build their resource. The challenge with that is going to be they're going to have limited money. And as they start running out of that money, who's going to want to throw some more money in without a really good timeline that this thing is going to get amended and get the amendments through the court process as well. So it's a really tough spot for them to be in. The feasibility study, they're doing the optimization, as you can see there on screen. It's meant to come out end of this year. Look, that could be a potential catalyst. But once again, you can tell me how good the metrics are going to be all you want. You're not allowed to develop this thing. So that's just where they're at. They've still got a market cap of 188 million, which, yep, they've got decent potential metrics on this thing, but it's still going nowhere till we don't know when. So, potential catalyst coming in that optimization, but absolutely nothing. So just be really, really wary of a valuation of 188 million on a mine that has no timeline now for development.
Yeah, because you always got to think about upside. Like, well, 188 million, that's
Mm-hmm.
200. It turns into a billion-dollar company, you got 5x upside. Whereas something like ARD, if that turns into a billion-dollar company, you got 20x upside. So,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't have a variable of something to worry about. So you've always got
Yeah.
to think about, okay, well, why take unnecessary risks on something when you don't have to,
Yeah.
when there's something I could understand if it was the only option, you're like, oh, well, I want
Mm.
silver and that's my only option.
Yeah.
I'll take the risk. But when there are other ones that don't have that, you got nothing to worry about. So
Yeah.
this
I
one,
mean, these guys are obviously in a very different space to ARD, but if you think IVR or
yeah.
even BML or polymetals or whatever,
Mm,
those guys, IVR, let's say they get the DFS done, you could be in construction in 2 years, mining in maybe 4, something
hmm
like that. BML, 3 years, maybe, polymetals, 6 months. Their market caps are all significantly under this thing.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can see here this resistance became support, and to be honest, it was looking good. I actually bought it off here
Mm.
initially. And then yeah, bullish divergence volume started coming in. It was all looking good, but then obviously that freak news came out that saying they'd lost the permit and it just got slaughtered.
Yep.
15 down to like 50% in 1 week. So it did bounce off the channel support here, but
Hmm.
right now it's turning this support into resistance. So I'm probably looking for it to reject here. As you can see from here, I want to see
Yep.
then the buyers come in. And then if it did that and change market structure back through there, then I might get interested because then I'm like, okay, well, is there something to do with that court case that we don't know about yet, but someone on the inside knows about and they're looking to
Yep.
buy it? And often you'll find the charts will lead the news. So if I start to see buying in something like that happening, then I'll start to question why that's happening. Because right now, as you said, we should be looking at it because at the moment
Mm.
it's a lower low, lower high, lower low. It's a downtrend,
Yeah.
and this support should become resistance. There's no volume talent. See how the volume's much lower than the other ones.
Yeah.
So there's nothing telling me to get into this one. So at the moment, in a downtrend, it's at resistance, volume's not supporting it. There's no reason for me to get in. So as data comes in, that might change. Like so in by the time there, but look at that date. That's at May, April next year.
Yeah.
It might
That's
do something
right.
like that. So it's just something I'm like, the chart doesn't look great, too many
Mm.
variables. I just think if there's better options out there, why waste your time kind of thing.
Absolutely. There's too much
Yeah.
overhanging risk. There's lots of trapped money in these guys.
Mm,
And yep, you've got that optimization study coming out, which could give that little short-term push back into the
mm,
resistance again. But then still, why would it break and run when this thing's not going anywhere? But like you
mm.
said, if they hear something early before the market does, well, the insiders will start buying for
Yep,
sure. We have no idea. No idea.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Right, let's go. We got what, 1, 2, 3 left. Let's take a trip to Europe because we all want to go to Europe. So let's go.
Whereabouts we going?
Bosnia Herzegovina, or I can't
Oh
pronounce it
yeah,
properly, but that's
I've
where we're going.
I've been there. Mostar.
You've been there? Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, but Mostar, beautiful place.
Ah, fantastic. Oh, well, you can tell me about this place then. Have you been here? So we're going ADT, Adriatic. Yeah, we are starting to get, so with this one and the next two, we are into, guys who are close to hitting the go button or are moving into production. So ADT, these guys are 1.2 billion market cap. So we are stepping up the market caps from the tens and the low hundreds to we are into 1.2 billion market cap. So we'll have a look and see what we think about that when we look at the next two.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys have moved through all the stages: exploration, development, construction, and they are now in the early days of production, and commercial production will probably be declared by the end of this year. So they've done pretty well. They're an example of the delays that you can get. So these guys were meant to be producing a year ago, and they are now a year late, and they had to throw another cap raise in for about 75 mil. So not small change to keep going because they're a year late. That's unfortunately what happens. One of the risks to be aware of as well, plenty of risk in exploration. One of the risks in construction development is delays, and then you've got cap raises on top of that will happen as well. Issues in ramp up, just like you see with, we all saw with Red 5 and whatever. But these guys are doing really well. You can see this graph here. So what you want to see in a mine when we're getting into development, you want to see a general continuation of development meters going up. We don't want to see it too stagnant in the early days. We want to make sure development stays ahead of your stoping of your production. So they're doing pretty well with that. And then you can see as they hit their stopes, so the areas we want to mine to access the ore body, not just development ore, we're actually getting into the proper stuff. You can see this production just jack up there, the amount of mining, the meters they've got. So that's huge for them. That means they are where they want to be. They found their areas and now they are getting stuck into it. So they're hitting the place now where they're actually getting some decent ore, and they're going to be, I would expect them to be properly producing by the end of the year. So very different to many of the other ones we've looked at. For these guys, when we think about metrics, their capex for this thing was 283 mil. So not a lot. And when we look at the one coming next, the capex is almost exactly the same. But this production, this operation, you're looking at an NPV of 1.6 billion, which is a huge NPV. And we're all talking post-tax. This is post-tax, not pre-tax. They got an IRR of 134%. That's a fantastic return. And that's post-tax as well. So we're very, very happy with that. The top 20 hold 80% of this thing. That's an incredible amount to be held in a company that's gone all the way through and is now producing. So think about the cap raising that's been done along the way. So these shareholders have been able to hold this thing really tightly. So that's pretty damn good as well. So right now they're doing early sales. They have got the concentrate coming out. They kind of know how it's working. What I'm looking for in the next couple of months is the concentrate grades, the production essentially staying constant and improving. I want to see those grades improve as they really get into that ore and get a lot more through the processing equipment. So far, everything's going really, really well. We often don't see a ramp up go well. Usually we see it go to absolute crap. These guys' ramp up's gone well. Their delays were in the construction. So it's all doing pretty well. Their risks now are going to sit in the processing equipment. Is the next 3 months as they move to commercial production. Is that going to go okay? Is there going to be an issue in processing? Is it going to be an issue in grades? And then obviously you got the prices, is prices for their stuff going to change? So, and also what we like here, they've got their ore reserve, which is excellent. And you can see here our silver is a nice high grade for silver itself. We aren't talking low-grade silver in a polymetallic deposit. This is polymetallic, but we are talking really good grade of silver in there as well. So very high valuation, 1.2 billion on a company that hasn't made cash yet. So, when we all talked about BOE and stuff recently, the valuation for those guys was off the charts when they started producing. They'd never made a drum of uranium before. So no wonder it came back. It makes perfect sense. But these guys, same thing, massive valuation, yet they don't have production behind them yet. So that's a risk, absolutely, with a huge market cap on a company that hasn't proven that they're going to do this yet. Yep, they've done really well. But until we see commercial production declared and sustained, then we can start looking at, is that actually viable or not? So just be really well aware of the valuation of this company. But to their credit, they have done very, very well.
Yeah, this one you can tell it's a different ball game just by the chart. Like, look at
Yeah,
it. It's just been an uptrend the whole time. And this is the thing that we're hoping one of those other ones turn into. This thing
that's
down
right.
here was 18 cents, something like your USD, ARD, that kind of thing. But obviously it hit its milestones and is nearly there, and this is
Yeah,
what can happen if you do find one of those ones that do end up getting towards that production. But yeah, no, this one I can't say anything bad about it. Like, it's just riding the trend right now.
yeah,
It's selling higher, it's buying higher, selling higher. So it's doing everything you want an uptrend to do.
yeah,
And yeah, I really honestly can't, like, it's a bit hard to know. The only down thing I could say would be, why did they were buying here? Why were they buying lower there?
yep.
So as long as these sellers don't turn in here, and then I'd be like, well, hang on, why are they selling
Hey,
lower? And then,
did that high start dropping in May-ish, something like that?
yeah, May, did
Yes,
something
I reckon
happen there?
that's cap raise. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So they did a cap raise down at that price.
No, the cap raise would have been, where was that? 450. So the cap raise probably would have been $4.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that, and so then that would have been,
And
okay, we need to get money.
excess profit. Yeah.
Everyone would have been a little bit worried. People would have taken their money off the table as well.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah,
Yeah.
so
Fair enough.
that fits that time frame. Yeah.
Yeah, so as long as it stays above that level there, I'm completely happy. If it fell
Yeah.
below there, then I'd be like, hang on, why are they selling lower? Why aren't they
Mm.
buying off this bargain price? Why is it breaking the trend? Then I would be like, okay, we've moved from an uptrend to a downtrend. And then you'll probably find maybe some FA things might be coming out changing. But yeah,
Yeah.
besides that, I like it.
Yeah. Oh, the FA thing really is you've got ramp up risk.
Mm,
They're doing really well, but you still got to get over the last hurdle is as we make this really hit commercial, they've got to keep up the grade recoveries have got to keep happening. The processing gear's got to wind up. And this valuation of 1.2 billion for me, that's not sustainable at the moment. In the long term, yeah, like that'll be fair for these guys, something like that or more. But right now, when you've never produced at a commercial rate, that's a really risky valuation to be sitting at.
hmm
Hmm.
We got two left.
Yep, two left, mate. Let's go BML. So everyone's been talking about Boab, and when everyone sends me the same stuff, I respond in the same way. It's not a silver deposit. It's not a silver
Hmm.
miner. It is a lead deposit. That's what it is. So Boab is not silver. It is lead. 75% of the production from this thing will be lead, not silver. So let's be really clear. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And these guys pump themselves as silver, and it's worked. That's how they got their exposure over the last kind of year. Like I've
Yeah.
been following these guys for much longer. And for me, it was always as a lead deposit with some silver credits, which was a good benefit. But yeah, they really started pumping this as, silver, silver leverage. But the lead price, mate, will have far more impact when it's 75% of your product.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, market cap right now, probably somewhere around 40 mil, I think, which is quite low when you think this is a company who is about to hit the go button. So all the speculative explorers we've looked at, these guys have a known deposit. It's proved up. They have all the financial metrics. They have something that's got a lot. It's going to have a mine life of about 8.5 years. They're in offtake discussions. They're in finance discussions. They're right at that point where they're going to get the money and start construction sometime in the next kind of 6 to 9 months. So same thing. We're not producing tomorrow. We're not producing next year. 2026, if everything was super fast, but let's say 2027, something like that. So these guys are well ahead of other people. Top 20 only hold 37, which it's not bad. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. The CapEx, now think back to ADT. The CapEx on ADT was about 280, 290 mil. The CapEx on this thing is quite similar. So their CapEx is actually 264, but for me, I count the CapEx to be about 290. And I'll show you why in a sec. So their CapEx is the same as that massive mine with ADT. Now, ADT obviously has a 19-year mine life. They're going to have an NPV of like 1.6 bill. These guys have got an NPV of going to sit at 400, 450 million. So very different for a similar amount of capital. IRR's 37, revenue 2.5 billion. That's your revenue. That's not your profit. That's not your free cash flow at all. It's not your NPV. So these guys are still a solid project. In terms of developers that are actually coming next, these guys are pretty decent. They know all their info and they're kind of right there. So it's a good project, but it's just not, it's like a lot of the others. It's not a silver deposit. It's a polymetallic deposit that's mostly lead. So decent metrics, company's done pretty well. And what they've just done recently, I've lost it, it's not up here, but what they've done, it's down here, is they've optioned the whole project. So they've said that they will buy the last 25%, and so they will 100% own it. So that was a bit of a holdout for these guys, and you can see that it must have been holding back offtake agreements, and it must have been holding back finance, because it's going to cost them an extra 20 mil, 22 million all up to do this, which is why I added onto the CapEx. It does give them extra value, absolutely. So it's a really good move, but they have to restart their offtake discussions and they have to restart their finance discussions, because it's a totally different ball game working on 100% ownership and on the different financial metrics. So that's going to delay this a little bit. So now we don't really know our timeframes. We don't really know when offtakes will come out. We don't really know when finance will get closed. I doubt it will be end of the year. I would say finance is going to be earliest next quarter. So 2025, first quarter, and then FID will have to be after that. So it's pushing this thing out probably 3 to 6 months. But you can see definitely they have to have a FID by September 2025. I'm going to expect it's going to be before that. I would expect FID potentially March 2025, but before middle of the year 2025. So that's the only challenge with this one. We lose our timeframes. We just don't know when they're going to be. And be wary of a cap raise with these guys. They're not exactly super low on money, but what happens almost every single time, the really small companies, when they go for debt, particularly 280, 290 mil worth of debt, no one's going to lend them that much money. They'll usually get lent 50 to 70%, and you have to get the other component from somewhere. And that's where you get those really big raises that are going to raise that 50 mil, something like that, to cover that last bit. So chances are, as part of what's called the funding mix, there will have to be an equity component. So just be aware that there's probably going to be a big cap raise at some point to cover some of the finances.
Okay.
Good project.
Yeah, I know it's been a bit of a hot one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually it's very early days, and I'm kind of trading like it's a bit more of a signal than anything.
Yeah.
But you can see here, zoom out. You can see it was in a massive downtrend. Okay, but then it's found a base down here at 10 cents.
Mm.
And then support. Then you can see you got massive bullish divergence off this last low here, and a lot of great volume coming in right now.
Yeah.
And it's just broken the decline here as well. So it's just broken. Yeah, so it's just broken this decline down here on that as well. So I'm not a massive kind of line person or anything like that. I'm more looking for that market structure, which we still only just got. Like we got it on the daily.
Mm-hmm.
You can see here, change of market structure happened right there. But at the moment, this could be a three-wave move. So I really want to see it just maybe come back down, do something like that. And if it takes off then boom, that's great, because then you're getting, because right now we're selling back where we were still selling again there. See?
Yeah.
So I need to see that those sellers are gone. So the minute we get through that 18 cents, then boom, it'll be go time. So hopefully we get a bit of a retracement here. You know, it was just a bit overbought, bit of a retracement, maybe fill that gap, come back, 1/3, 2/3 retracement. That would be common textbook stuff. And then look for it to, I'd be looking to see if buyers come in here. And then if they do, and then if the sellers don't step in there, boom, that's your change. And then, things will get exciting. So, it's really really early. I need to wait for a thing, but it's definitely on my watch list and one that I'll be watching. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in terms of when we think fundamentally value, we've got a developer here that's going to hit the go button in the next 3 to 6 months, maybe not. And we've got a market cap of what, 40 mil.
Yeah, that's right. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of upside if they
Yeah.
do.
So you got that bit of funding risk that's sitting over there, and you got the risk of the bigger cap raise. But yeah, 40 mil, from an FA point of view, give me that share price all the way back again so I can build a bigger position.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's what I mean. It looks like it was getting quite accumulated here for a bit. So
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll see how we go. Yeah, so that's September last year. So for a whole year, it's
Yeah.
been kind of just chilling around here.
It has. It's just
So,
been accumulating as it waited for all that final information to come through, the updates and the studies, and then when was offtake and financing coming? That was kind of the questions, really.
mm, yeah,
Yeah.
beauty. All right, lucky last. What do we
Last
got?
one. Last one. No surprise. It was going to be polymetals. No surprises there. So, all right. So this is one we've been talking about for a good year or so, and with absolutely fair reason. This ties in beautifully with why we started with that company we did, MKR, I think it was. So these guys, it's a previously operating mine. All the equipment is there. It's a known deposit. All those things that first one we talked about had. The difference with this one is this company comes into this. The management know this deposit. They have been involved with it before. What shut this mine down, what the problem was with it was a ridiculous silver royalty. So when metal prices, crapped it a few years back, to keep this mine going, the then operators had to give 100% silver royalty on what was in there. And so metal prices plus the giving away of all the silver meant that this mine became unviable because of those two setups. And so I went into care and maintenance and sat there until these guys came and bought it with the plan to do just this. So you got $150 million, $200 million worth of infrastructure already there. It hasn't been sitting there for 15 years doing nothing. It's been on care and maintenance for a couple of years. So it's all pretty ready to go. So the deposit's well known. It's not brand new. You are not getting scraping the dregs out of an open pit. You're not scraping the dregs out of just a tailings and a rock dump, and that's it. Kind of like that first one was we talked about. They're really working on tailings and open pit dregs. This is going into a known ore body that is still there, still has plenty left in it. So when we see ones like this, that is a mine that has a lot of infrastructure there and sunk capital, that's a pretty damn good place to start looking, because once again, you do not have to spend, if you think BML, 260, 280, $300 million in CapEx. Your exploration to get this thing known is significantly less because it's already there. People know what it is. It's already probably got a JORC resource associated with it. You don't have to prove it up. You just grow what's already there. So that's something we really look for in the FA side of things. And that's what flagged these guys for me about a year ago and said, all right, this is pretty interesting. Have a look, wait for your time, and then, use your TA to help you line up an even better moment. So these guys are sitting at a market cap around about 85 mil. So double that of BML, more than fair enough, considering these guys are going to be producing by April, May next year. So they're ready to go. These guys have funding in place. So chances are there will be no more cap raising. In theory, if everything goes well, there should be no more cap raising for these guys. That should be it. And your funding to restart was about $30 million. So we're not pulling hundreds of millions of dollars out. You're not loading this thing with years worth of debt. You've got $30 million. They sorted out the silver royalty with a really good deal, a really normal deal. Absolutely normal by today's standards, nothing strange. And so that's absolutely cleared all that up without any issue as well. So you're looking at a 10-year mine plan, which is stage one. I would expect this resource to grow. I expect those 10 years to extend. There's space in this resource itself to grow. I'll see if they've got a picture of it down here. They might. There we go. Here's your resource. Here's your deep zinc lodes in the bottom. As you can see, it's open. And you've got what's called car park. It's a target right next door, literally in their car park, which is worth drilling. It's got some geotechnical stuff on it that looks pretty interesting. So I expect this thing's got more than 10 years in it. you're looking IRR 345%. That is huge. That is an amazing return on your investment. NPV 414 million, very similar to BML's, but your investment's the $30 million capex. It's not the 290. So significantly different there as well. They're pre-tax numbers, so it's going to change when the tax comes out, but still, they're very nice numbers. Free cash flow 609 million over those 10 years. So you can't complain with that. Inside holders are pretty huge. Your top 20 is going to be 50% or so of this. The other thing to consider about these guys is, I don't know if they give us a map, but we saw the one we looked at the Cobar before of all the mines around there. These guys are right next to, the biggest copper mine there. So Mac's got a stake in these guys, Metal Acquisition. They took a 5% stake in Polymetals, and they've also signed kind of like an understanding where they're going to share some resources, share some logistics as well. These guys are Mac's next takeover target, I would expect, once this gets up and running. So why wouldn't Mac take them? They're just down the road. They've already got a 5% stake in them. This diversifies what Mac is doing. That's very, very possible in the next couple of years. So this thing is zinc, it is silver, and it is lead. Very well-known deposit. The guys that are funding it as well, the funders, they've had a relationship with this company and with the people in this company for a good 20 years. So constant relationships leveraged again. And the gentleman that has come on board, he was on the board, and now he's moved off the board and he's actually coming on to run the operations. He's won like Mine Manager of the Year, like 3 years of his career, of Mine Manager of Australia, best Mine Manager in Australia. So 3 times. So they've got a hell of a lot of management firepower, people who know this deposit, people who know how to operate stuff. They've got long-standing relationships with their finances. They've got a solid relationship with Mac up the road, massive mine, massive company who are now bought into these guys, known deposit, money is there. In theory, won't have to cap raise, and production in 6 months or so. So look, fantastic story, fantastic fundamentals. And if we think of risks, though, to balance it, our risks now sit with ramp-up issues. Obviously, any new mine has to ramp up. The ramp-up issues are reduced, though, for these guys because the deposit is well known. The processing equipment has been operated before, so they know how it works. They know that it works on the ore that's going to come out. They know how it's going to recover. So besides mechanical failure, the risks of processing and recovery of concentrate grades and whatever is quite low. So that's a huge bonus for something like this. And that is why we look for mines and things like that have all the restart there, the infrastructure there has been done before. So huge potential from a fundamental point of view for these guys. Where's the chart at the moment, man?
Yeah, so this one, a lot of people love because I put it out because of you, Craig, on my YouTube channel right there.
Yeah,
So
love it.
I think there's a couple of happy people about that one. And I hadn't even looked at the chart before until you pointed it out. So this is where it's great when someone just goes, "Oh, the FA is good," but sometimes the FA is good, and then that's it. Like it gets accumulated for then a period, but then it's like knowing when to buy is the tricky part. And if I take it back to during that video, that's when I was just like, "Oh, we're dead on this support here. You can see this whole thing's been going to this resistance become back to support, and then as it started to push off, you can start see the volume starting to come in." Then I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, there's some great volume coming in." So that's when I was like, "We've pivoted off the low, volume's coming in," and I just said, once it gets above there, that's the confirmation. And then it just absolutely popped. And yeah, it's anyone that bought off there is more than double their money, and this one close to
Yeah.
double as well. And now, all those sellers that were here, they're no longer there. So if anything, they've actually become buyers now.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful volume. Only negative thing I could say is it's getting a little bit extended, but
Yeah.
I never worry about RSI too much because, to be honest, the biggest moves happen when RSI is extended as well. So yeah, but it could have a bit of a pullback at some stage, but everything about it now is fantastic. As you can see here, selling. They're going to be selling wherever it pivots. It's going to be selling higher. So as long as the buyers step in higher, we're still in our uptrend and it's fantastic. So yeah, great looking chart as well. So overall,
Yep.
so your favorite FA would be the POL?
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Its valuation is not even, it's getting for the developer. We think, okay,
Mm,
they're going to get a discount anyway, and so these guys are still going to be discounted to an NPV or anything like that.
yeah.
But when we think longer term for these guys, and also if everyone is thinking silver is exciting, the prices are going up, who's actually going to
Mm,
be producing into it? It's only these guys and what ADT,
yeah.
ADT, that are actually, coming online into
Yeah,
it. And
nice.
so when we think valuation, management, skill level,
Mm.
and a deposit that has the most limited amount of risks, these guys kind of tick all those boxes from an FA point.
And who would you put second and third for FA?
Look, BML for the quality
Yep.
of their potential deposit, and we've taken away a lot of risks in terms of what's actually there and
Hmm.
what it can be and what the metrics can be. Their risks sit with when is financing going to happen, so that's just going to drag the process, and we just don't know the timeline.
Okay.
So that's a worry with that. The interests in I think with the potential district plays in something like, where are we? USL,
Hmm.
and the big money and the people that are in
Yeah, yeah.
that
Yeah, beauty.
is pretty interesting. The market cap's probably getting extended on that one,
Hmm.
in terms of potential value versus what we really know.
Yeah.
Um, so that one, but what that potentially can be is pretty interesting as well. But yeah, in terms of value, it's probably had a bit much on that one.
So probably what, maybe ARD for value versus
Yeah,
potential kind of thing.
ARD's got some interesting parts to it, and if we think of speculative value, there's potentially more speculative value in that one. Yeah, for
Mm,
sure. Yeah,
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 beauty.
and the
Well,
TA on that one looks good too.
legend. No, I really appreciate your time, man. Like it takes a lot of work and research to go through those stocks and stuff. And for me, it's not that hard. I pull up a chart and I can look at it in a few minutes. It's
No,
so
no
yeah,
worries.
nah.
Anytime, love it.
Yeah, we've found some absolute winners by combining the FA with the TA, and a lot of people think that FA is better than TI, TA is better than FA. It's like no, we use them together. Use them together. If the
Absolutely.
FA is good, use the TA to align with the buy signal, then boom, take
Yep.
advantage of it. So no,
Yeah.
no,
And that polymetals chart, man, is perfect example of that. Like I knew about
yeah.
this one for a long time, and fundamentally, I was incredibly interested, and it really was
Mm.
around that signal when it dug into that support, and the FA lined up with a few things that were coming. And as it dug into that support and the volume kind of turned with the OBV, there's the TA and the FA trigger, like right together, like Captain Planet style, powers combined. There we go.
Yeah, nice. All right, legend. All right, buddy. I will let you go. Enjoy your night, enjoy your weekend, and I'll speak to you later.
Awesome, mate. Take care.
All right, see you, bud.
See ya.